Capricorn. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for April of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Well, Capricorn, this month's themes cover a variety of areas of life. If you have any questions at all, no judgment. You can find a natal and transit reading link in the YouTube description below to come in and see either Julia or me about that stuff. So I want to start with the new moon in Aries that happened on March 31st. We didn't report it last month, but it's still reverberating here early this month, so I'm going to talk about it now. The sun and the moon meet up in Aries in your fourth house. This is a really energetic moon, and this moon has themes of communication and directness because of Mercury being here and also the placement in Aries. And so you could very easily develop a case of foot and mouth disease under this moon by telling truths a little bit too sharply at home or with family members. So watch out for that. But instead plant some seeds of honesty and directness. Just try to, keep it smooth and not so sharp. The next moon I want to tell you about, and there are three of them that I'm going to be telling you about, is a full moon in Libra right here on the 16th. This one we're calling intimacy and restraint. And the intimacy theme has to do with Pluto here squaring the moon. And the moon in Libra is a pretty relational moon. This one falls in your 10th house, suggesting that the relationships that you may be having some strong feelings about could be collegial relationships, work relationships, collaborative relationships through your job. And the presence of Pluto in this full moon squaring the moon and the sun could bring up some pretty intense feelings and perhaps some desires to have power, be in control, possibly even drama can emerge during a moon like this. Fortunately, there's help from Juno and Saturn, both of which have some serious social skills to bring to the situation. So it's quite possible that things could erupt a la Pluto, but then be sort of diplomatically handled a la Saturn and Juno, leaving you with a better situation than you had before. Then the third moon happens on, the 30th. And this is another new moon, but it's also an eclipse. A new moon, an eclipse, a solar eclipse in particular, is a new moon that happens really close to the nodes. And here's the north node in Taurus, not far away. So this particular eclipse will show us our shadow, because that's what eclipses do. And it being a solar eclipse will show us our shadow through how we behave. And in your case, it's going to be in the 5th house, which is a house of fun and play and pleasure, a house of children, a house of blatant self-promotion, creativity, self-expression, performance. So the sun feels pretty comfortable here, even though it's being eclipsed. So if I were you, I would definitely watch out for situations where you've got some attention on you and what comes out but bad behavior. So beware of that and have a care for your actions and your behavior right around the time of the eclipse. So let's see. Oh yeah, one more thing before I flip the ball over to Julia. Ceres, the cultivator, is in the 6th house all month, has been here for quite some time. Wherever Ceres goes, it's all about how can I cultivate and be a good steward of this area. And I talked about this pretty thoroughly back in your February horoscope, so you might want to check that out. You'll find that in the February news playlist on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology. But what I want to let you know is that next month, Ceres is going to move out of this house and into the 7th house. That's going to happen in May, at which point I will tell you all about the importance of cultivating your relationships. Hey, Julia, what's up with Mercury, Venus, and Mars for the caps of the world?
Wow, Capricorn, lots is going on this month. Lots of planetary movement, particularly Mercury, who's going through 3 different houses. That's like a whole quarter of the zodiac because it's moving so fast in the sky right now. So when Mercury is moving this fast, it's kind of like this month is the opposite of a Mercury retrograde season, because Mercury, all things related to Mercury are actually moving really well right now, which means communication, technology, writing, learning, that kind of stuff. Mercury starts the month in your 4th house of family and home, and it's there for just the first few days of the month. And Jamie and I really covered that cycle a lot in last month's video. So if you need a refresher, I'd go back and check that out. But what's most important about Mercury in the 4th for you this month, Capricorn, is that on the 2nd, Mercury is going to be exactly conjoined the Sun, and that's known as Greater Epiphany Day. Now, these Epiphany days happen, they sort of bookend every Mercury cycle. So we're kind of closing one cycle and also opening the chapter for a new one on the 2nd. So around that time, with this Greater Epiphany Day happening in your 4th house of family, the home, and the past, you could be having some great insights, some epiphanies, some aha moments, some clarification around 4th house matters. Maybe something about your family. Maybe you get greater clarity on family issues. Maybe you get greater clarity on something that happened in your past, which you can now see in a new light. Or maybe you're getting some really good insights on what your home life needs. But those could be areas where things just kind of click for you early in the month. Then on April 10th, Mercury enters your 5th house, and it's going to be there for most of the month, so about 19 days. And when Mercury is in the 5th house is the most fun house in the zodiac. It's everybody's favorite house. It rules games, diversions, dating, your children, all the best and most fun things in your life. And Mercury is actually a planet that's got a little trickster side to it. It really loves playing games too. So Mercury in the 5th is kind of a natural fit. So your mind might be very sort of preoccupied with fun and games and having diversions this month, which is definitely not a bad thing, unless you have to really focus on school or some project at work. It might be a little distracting. But Mercury in the 5th is really great for strategizing around games, for playing word games or any games that require trivia or technology like video games. This could also be a time of also more increased communication with your children, which can also be very nice too. And then on the 29th, Mercury goes into your 6th house of work. That's where your mind is going to be focused on the last couple of days of the month. And Jamie and I are really going to cover that cycle in our next month's video, because most of the transit is happening next month anyway, so stay tuned for that. We got 2 more planets to cover too, Capricorn. The next one is Venus, who everybody loves too, because she's the planet of relationships and beauty. And it's just a, all around nice, pleasurable, lucky planet. She spends the first few days of the month in your 2nd house. She was mostly there last month too. That's the house of money. So maybe a little extra luck with money or a little extra fun shopping and getting things you like early on in the month. Then by April 5th, Venus goes into your 3rd house. This is the house of communication. It rules your siblings, it rules your neighbors, your local community. It also rules trips, like taking little trips and journeys, as well as learning and writing. So with Venus in the 3rd house for most of the month, you could be getting a little extra, harmony in your relationship with your siblings, which is very nice. Venus tends to bring harmony. Also, it's a good time for getting along well with your neighbors and your community in general. Venus in the 3rd is great if you have a lot of writing to do, or you need to learn something new, because, Venus makes it a little bit more pleasurable and fun, and things just flow a little bit better with her in the 3rd house. Also a great time to use your words to be more diplomatic. Now, Mars will also be joining her in the third house, which I'll talk about in a second, but Mars is a totally different energy than Venus. Mars is the planet of action. Wherever we have Mars is where we feel super driven that month. But Mars is also a planet that can sometimes get a bit competitive or sometimes runs into fights with other people too. So Mars starts the month in your second house of money and possessions, and it's there for the first 14 days. And when Mars is in the second, you can feel very driven to kind of get more money in some way. Maybe you're feeling really driven at working hard on your personal business or working hard to get a promotion at work. But yeah, Mars in the second, we can feel much more driven with stuff. Now, since the second house is it's the house of possessions, so the thing you own, with Mars in the second, you might be a little bit more impulsive with your money too. So, make sure if you buy anything that it has a good refund policy, because Mars in the second can really want to just hit the checkout button and, maybe buy things it doesn't really need. Now on April 14th, Mars is going to shift into your third house where I mentioned earlier, Venus is. So with Mars in the third, there could be a little bit more, you could feel like almost that you find yourself energized by being in your local community or perhaps doing things around you or taking a lot of trips around your town. Mars in the third can feel very driven to write and to learn. So if there's a big writing project you have to get through, that could be a really great way to get your energy out this month. Mars in the third, has a little bit more sharpness to how you communicate, but Venus is also in there too. So either, some days this month, maybe you're a little more diplomatic, and then other days you might be a little bit more combative with your words, or maybe the two just kind of neutralize each other out a little this month. I don't know, but you got a little bit of push and pull with your words this month. At times, maybe being a little bit too sharp, and at times also being able to kind of smooth things over and be more diplomatic.
Yeah. I want to talk about Juno, which has been traveling through your second house. Juno is the goddess of marriage and committed relationship. She is the social maven, like a social director, if you will. She is going to be moving into your third house. And I have, by the way, talked about Juno in your second house back in your February horoscope. So you might go into our YouTube channel archives and dig around and find your February horoscope to learn about that. But this month, Juno moves into the third house around the 20th. And this is a house of communication. And she's going to go retrograde in Pisces later in the year and really going to be in this third house of yours for the rest of the year. So you're going to be gearing up, starting already later this month, for a lot of sort of retrospection and deep looking back at the history of communication in your relationships and asking yourself, how has communication gone in my relationships? Do I feel like I'm really understood? And so we're going to be talking about this more as it approaches, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. That's coming up on the horizon. The next thing I want to speak to is the seasonal change. The sun leaving Aries right here on the 20th of April, moving into Taurus and joining some other planets here in your fifth house, bringing emphasis to that area. The sun is a source of life force energy, and like sunlight, attention helps things to grow. So wherever the sun goes in your chart, putting a little well-placed attention there will eke some growth out of that area. And this is, as Julia described, it's a house of fun and play and entertainment, a house of children, a house of self-discovery, creativity, and performance. So this could be a really great transit, 30 days long, for you to put some attention on yourself or to have fun, get some entertainment, and or play with your kids, and do some serious relaxing. So enjoy that during the season of Taurus. And then the last thing I want to tell you about is that Pluto is going retrograde this month, and that's happening on the 29th, right at the end of the month. Pluto goes retrograde every year, so that's no surprise. But I wanted to let you know that this is going to happen because if you are due for a Pluto transit this year, which you might not know if you are unfamiliar with your chart, but if you are due for one, then you would be feeling like this sort of deepening of a transformative process of a death and a rebirth process that may have already been going on for some months, but it feels like it deepens and intensifies from April through October. And so if that makes your ears perk up and you feel like there's something there for you, you can find a link in the YouTube description for our Pluto page, which gives more clues about how to find out if you're having a Pluto transit and what to do if you are. Well, that's what we have for you today, Capricorn. Hope you enjoyed it. You can always find your horoscopes on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscope tab. And if this is your sun sign, definitely check out the horoscope for your rising sign and vice versa. If you want a reading with us, you can find us in the readings tab. And also we offer classes as well. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.